So it's time for one of those videos where we reflect about 2023. I don't really make resolutions anymore, but today I'm here to share with you or use this as a diary of mine where I want to just talk about this decision that I made, a decision that changed where I am today. We don't notice the really small micro things that happen in our life that takes place in order for big shifts to happen. So I want to walk you through some of the really micro things that have happened that has led me into making such a big one decision that has really changed where I am today. So you are seeing me standing in my studio and yeah?
It's done.
Okay, I'm going down now.
Can we watch the forest go thing?
Yeah. Let me just get my phone. I'll be right back.
And have a butterfly.
Yeah. Shall we go?
Mommy, Saskia give me a green paper.
Okay, let's go down and get a green paper. I think I have lots of green paper.
I like a green paper because it's very rough, same like your art paper. You can use your green paper as your art paper now.
Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to gather everything in my head right now. While I'm really happy with how 2023 has turned out for me art-wise, because I feel like I have really grown in terms of, diving into other things other than watercolor, which has always been what I've been used to. And just yesterday, I was digging through my art and looking through the trajectory of where I have been painting from the very beginning until now. And it just dawned on me that when I took a break in between somewhere in my watercolor practice, I hadn't painted enough for me to give up, or I hadn't painted enough for me to stop and say like, okay, I'm done. But I'm so glad that imposter syndrome didn't take over. Because can you imagine if it did? We wouldn't have this channel. And I'm so proud of this channel because, whether it is 1 view, 2 views, 3 likes, you guys are all human to me and I'm so thankful for you being here. So in this video, we are going to be having a casual chat where you're going to be watching different snippets of my 2023, dabbling into different things, and also I will be sharing with you highlights, lowlights, and all the different lights in between. Painting in oils made me feel really excited because it was like going into something brand new again, starting a new relationship with something, getting to know something, and I thought that I was going to translate what I knew about painting flowers into oils. These are water soluble oils, and the funny thing is that oil and water typically don't mix. So when I was painting with them, that was the biggest fascination that I had. Don't ask me how it works because I'm still figuring things out, but I dabbled not just in painting in florals, but also I tried landscapes as well. These landscapes were actually inspired by a trip in Switzerland during the summer of 2023. There were so many beautiful mountains. There were vast landscapes of mountains that I really enjoyed watching. And one thing that I really enjoyed discovering about oils was the use of the palette knife to actually create texture within the painting. So in watercolor, there isn't as much texture in terms of the 3D nature of how it looks, but with oils, you're going to see that a little bit more. And when you take a look at the final product of this painting, you'll be able to see what I mean when I say create texture. Brush lettering will always be my first love. It was what led me into watercolor, and I always want to pay tribute to it every year just because it reminds me of where I started, and the first workshops that I started was really brush lettering. And I did a couple of brush lettering workshops in 2023 that really helped me to reignite that passion I have for teaching. As I had decided that 2023 was the year I was going to leave my job and do art full time, one of the things that I realized I had to incorporate was keeping a practice of painting what I liked and what I enjoyed, plus having to juggle my kids being around and present.
Mama made.
Yeah.
Ma!
I've learned that I no longer have that luxury of sitting down and painting for hours. But what I would do is I would make time and space for little parts of my painting and slowly fill them up like a jigsaw puzzle. Speaking of which, I've got one of my kids just by my side behind exploring my cabinet as I'm painting this.
Mama. 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 Mama.
You want Mama to take out? So in the beginning, I talked about how I made small little steps to help me to sustain a bigger goal. And my bigger goal and purpose was to stay creative despite still doing this full time as an art business. And one of the ways I wanted to do that was to work in a sketchbook. The sketchbook is a great place because it is a playground that I felt I could explore different mediums, do different things. In fact, this was also the space that I started to learn to lean into how I felt about color combinations, shapes, florals, and all of the different things. And I am going to be giving you a little sketchbook tour at this video as well. But before that, just enjoy snippets of my sketchbook. And I also hope that you will find this to be something that you want to take on in 2024, because I know that this is something I'm definitely going to continue for my own creative endeavors. So while looking through my art and things, one thing I noticed was I hadn't painted very much on paper. I've been actually painting a lot more in Sketchbook, at least for the last 6 months. And it's really surprised me, maybe because I've never really been a sketchbook person, and you already know my feelings about sketchbooks because I did an episode about sketchbooks. You can check it out in the description below. But it is a little bit of a turning point in my own artistic growth and journey, because it's me overcoming something that I had a limiting belief about. So I used to think that sketchbooks are meant to be curated, or I think this limiting belief really comes from, have you gone on YouTube and seen all of those sketchbooks where people have got such beautiful works of art, just pages after pages? It's incredible. I mean, it's almost unreal. I think those videos really intimidated me. It really made me feel like, no, I can't do that. And having everything binded in a book always makes me feel like I kind of have to get everything together. And when I was young, I would tear out pages. And I would also learn that the binding gets weaker when I tear out the pages. So then because of that, I just gave up sketchbooks altogether. I just didn't do it. But then 2023 is the time that I actually let that change the way I saw sketchbooks. As in, I decided to take things into my own hands, a little bit like 2022, which, because my YouTube channel didn't surface before 2022, so you don't really know what my wins are in 2022. But my big win in 2022 was when I did the 100-day journey. I felt like the 100-day project in 2022 really gave me the opportunity to kind of find myself and rediscover what I liked about creating. Specifically, I really started to focus on what I wanted instead of what I saw. It really started to become an inward journey more than outward. That's a really huge win. And that win continued on in 2023. So I had overcame an obstacle, because this 100-day project thing in 2022 is not the first time that I've embarked on it. You see, I have done the 100-day journey sometime in 2017 and 2018, and they were calligraphy related, because the thing about calligraphy is that you really want to kind of practice and have good muscle memory and all of that. So having a daily practice is essential. But I was held back by limiting beliefs of showing up every day, or when I started to miss 1 or 2 days, I felt bad, I felt guilty, and then I started to shame myself for not showing up. And that's where in 2022, the huge turning point for me was that I decided that I was going to make my own rules. I would only paint when I felt like it. It didn't have to be every day, it didn't have to be daily, it didn't have to be 100 paintings. In fact, every time I decided to show up, I was trying to make it really, really easy for me to sustain it. Making things easy for me really helped me. And the reason why I'm going into the 2022 story, into the 2023 story, is because the sketchbook, which I started embarking in, I made it easy for myself because I had no rules. It wasn't like, I have to paint specific subjects or themes or colors or mediums. No, it was an anything goes thing. I just went with it. I just had fun with it. And I am now on my third book. So, well, it's not like I finished all the books. I did create them in my own system. So this one is with flowers, and I've done all my floral paintings all here. And on this book, I've got landscapes. So I just wanted to, because sometimes I have feelings for different things, and I'm like, oh, maybe I feel for a landscape, or I feel for florals, and these are just different subject matters. And because I finished my floral book, I got one in I got a new one. This is a brand new one, and I've already done the first page, so that helps to alleviate the stress of the first page. So yeah, so what I'm saying is that I think me trying to keep everything kind of as simple as possible has really helped me to stay consistent. When I went into the sketchbook, it wasn't about, creating pretty spreads or anything. It was really about prioritizing play, which I felt as a business owner and doing this full time, painting flowers on a large scale and all of that, it feels like a lot of work. And doing them in a sketchbook where it's so easy to grab, it's small, I can have it when I'm downstairs with my kids. I can, just pull out a couple of crayons and doodle. So anyway, let's go into the sketchbook tour, well, a mini one, at least some of the drawings and paintings that I like, that I want to share with you, and we'll continue chatting there. A happy side effect of my sketchbook and artistic journey has also rubbed off on my kids, where I noticed that they too have enjoyed looking and observing nature a little bit more and drawing what they actually see. I feel like there's this newfound sense of appreciation for nature and things around us, which really brings and grounds us to the present moment, something that already kids innately have, and they have taught me about that. And I really am glad that art is also bringing that into the forefront. I've never really been a museum person, but when I heard that Van Gogh was having a digital display, I thought that I could go and check it out with a really good friend of mine. And at that time, on an impromptu basis, I actually said, why don't we bring our sketchbooks and see whether we could get inspired and get drawing? I brought my Caran d'Ache set and we started just doodling and sitting there. I have to say that the experience at this digital exhibition wasn't really my cup of tea, because I realized how much I prefer it being non-digital. But what really elevated this experience was probably being able to draw and doodle there. This is probably something that I really want to take forward and do more of in 2024, where I get to do more plein air and doodle on the outside of the studio. The truth is, as much as you see me doing a lot of painting videos, I'm actually behind the computer a lot. Following the decision to turn my hobby into a full-time business meant that I also had to ensure my website was running. I had to respond to emails, and there were so many other small moving parts that came with the business that I had to learn on the job. So if you've come this far towards the end of the video wondering what the answer is to the question that I had in the beginning, which is that one decision that changed everything, well, you might think that that decision is about taking watercolor full-time or taking watercolor. Well, the answer is actually really simple. The decision that I made throughout 2023 was to constantly explore and make watercolor be that part of joy that I've always had and experienced from the start. When I keep on remembering that experience of how watercolor makes me feel from the beginning, that meditative healing feeling that I really enjoy, it really makes me want to do this more rather than see this as a chore. Throughout this video, you would have seen that I have been speaking towards the theme of trying to continue to make space for art regardless of the different limitations that we might have, whether it is with kids or with life in general. And I think that making that decision on your own to make small pockets of time throughout the year can really impact the bigger leap that could happen with your art. If I didn't even start watercolor, this wouldn't have been where it is right now. In fact, if I had stopped instead of taking a pause and not return after my break, I also wouldn't have happened. 2023 will always be the year that I remember, just because it's also the year that I started Brush Movement Collective, which is a space that I host monthly floral classes as well as live Zoom sessions with a whole bunch of people that I get to nerd about watercolor together. Thank you so much for tuning in to this video, and like with every video, send me a message or a comment to let me know what your insights were, and I cannot wait to see you at the next video.